Hi, folks. Welcome to the Ivy Boys podcast. I am your host, Chipper Lewis. We are finally live on YouTube. It's been a while. It took a little bit trying to fix Joel's picture really quick, but we are here. We promise we're here. I am your host, Chipper Lewis, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Joel Fry. Joel, how's it going, buddy?
I'm good, man. I mean, I think you meant 6 o'clock Mountain Time, so we are right on schedule, being 7. Yeah, we're in great shape. We always go Denver time here on the Ivy Boys podcast for some reason. It is sometimes a little confusing, but tonight we were spot on.
Spot on. I love every minute of it. Joel, Cubs baseball is back next week. Like, right? Am I wrong? Is there somewhat meaningful games like you said?
There is nominally competitive baseball starting in just a few days. Pitchers and catchers reported not long ago. The other guys joined them right after, and we are looking like we are ready to have a full lineup of guys about who we've never heard before, or guys who obviously we've heard of before, but who we never considered, potentially major league caliber players who are going to show out. It happens every year in spring training. You have a couple of guys who go, "Hey, I wonder if they can maybe make an impact on the major league roster at some point." And some of them do, some of them flame out. Some of them are Chris Bryant, who hit 9 home runs in spring training and then gets sent to Iowa. Things like that, just typical stuff. Haven't heard about that since, oddly enough. Didn't have a single problem with getting sent back down to Iowa after an incredible spring training. So
yes.
It's it's exciting just to know that baseball is being played again. I'd love to make it down to Mesa sometime and watch some spring training games. I think that is in the cards at some point in the future. But this year, just going to watch it on TV and really enjoy what I see.
Yes.
Hopefully, we see some of it on the Marquee Network. I think
before
the end of
February. In the Chicagoland area, that might not happen.
That's true. And heck, I don't even know if there's a guarantee that we'll have it here. I mean, we've got Sling TV, and there is no guarantee that they'll be on there.
On MLB.TV, like I can't see. I'm lucky. I'm not in the. I don't have to worry about blackouts and stuff like that unless, of course, they're playing here in St. Louis. So
I've complained about this multiple times on the show. 20% of Major League Baseball is blacked out in Iowa. That is absurd.
Yes.
I was in Vegas a couple of weeks ago for work, and 20% of baseball is blocked out there too, in an area where gambling is a big deal. Baseball obviously is the epicenter of the gambling world, and you can't see a lot of the games on television. It is maddening to say the least, but at the same time, I'm just glad that I'll be able to watch some baseball somewhere. Even if I have to go to a sports bar, I'm going to watch it because this team this year excites me in a lot of ways. And I've talked myself into this being a successful year for us, or at least having that expectation at the beginning of the season.
Yep. Yeah, I'm excited. I am excited because, like we said last week, this team depends on the bullpen. They make or break because of the bullpen. The bullpen's up there with the best in baseball, which it has the potential to be, but realistically won't be. But if it's top 10 in baseball in ERA, this team makes the playoffs. This team very well has the potential to win that division. If they're bad, like they were last year, this team's a fourth place team.
The bullpen bothers me a little bit because of the uncertainty of so many of the pieces. I mean, Owen Wick had a good body of work last year. He had plenty there that you could see that and get excited about and go, all right, this is a guy. Craig Kimbrell, I mean, is he going to bounce back? Was it the fact that he started late during the season? Was that the problem? That's what he says, and you hope to trust him since he knows it better than anybody, and he has one of the best. He's maybe the best closer who ever lived. Maybe he's definitely top 5, probably second best closer in the history of the game. You could just put him or Billy Wagner. They're kind of right there for second and third. And if he's back to full force, if he's the way that he was in Atlanta, I doubt that's going to happen. But if it does, you found yourself an unbelievable piece. Especially, he'll be playing to his contract at that point if he pitches like he did in Atlanta. Brandon Morrow money at this point. I mean, that could be a guy who you expect nothing from. Minor league contract. Cubs did right him, so he signed back with the club. He was an automatic when he was when he was with the Cubs back in 2018. And if you get a guy like that for your eighth inning, then you're in great shape. Suddenly the bullpen looks fortified. That's not automatically the case. You lose Jack. A lot of the pieces that you had last year were up and down, especially at the beginning of the season. Look at the Cubs. Remember how the Cubs were back in April with the bullpen? It was unbelievable. Giving up, 6-7 run leads. The famous Joe Madden, "I am so tired of this bleep," or like in the 8th or 9th game of the season, where it just was another lead given up by the bullpen. So hopefully we don't see that this year, and it's a little more consistent. Because if it is, the Cubs are going to be pretty solid from top to bottom.
Yes, they will be. Yeah, and it's going to make for an interesting season. Let's just leave that there. It's going to make for a very interesting season on the north side of Chicago because of the bullpen, and if players can play above their potential or play up to their potential. It's simple as that. So let's go ahead and jump into our very first topic. Kris Bryant held a press conference yesterday, Joel.
Sure did.
I don't know about you, but I am here for pissed off Kris Bryant. I am beyond excited about this, okay? I believe at some point during the press conference, he mentioned how Twitter is the worst thing to happen to the world ever. I don't know if he used ever, but the worst.
I would say since 2009, it might be one of the things that's been more divisive in America. But ever there's a lot of stuff's happened, Chris. I'm all for hyperbole, but there have been some things, man. There's some stuff.
Exactly. Let's talk Germany in 40s, 30s, maybe.
If somebody was walking in Moses' caravan up to the Red Sea, and you told them, so the worst thing that ever happened in the history of the world was a bunch of people being mean to each other and saying hashtag clapback. Also, several celebrities got canceled, and so that's the worst thing. That's the worst thing. I don't think they'd agree. I feel like it. Hey, you got 40 years of wandering in the desert ahead of you, but for crying out loud, don't worry. People are going to criticize the way Billie Eilish dressed at the Oscars. So I mean, you got it easy by her standards, right?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Okay, so let's play a couple of clips from that presser. First, we're going to hear him talk about his grievance. What someone asked him, what he, the whole grievance thing. So let me pull that video up.
A lot of things out there saying, "Oh, there's ill will towards the team," and then there's another one saying there's absolutely no ill will. It's like, okay, well, where are we getting this from? Like, oh, maybe it was you. I don't know who it was, but it's like the only person opinion who's matters here is mine, and I'm right here in front of the microphone telling you guys that there's no hard feelings whatsoever. I mean, I completely respect this organization and everything that they've done for me, my family, giving me an opportunity to play the game that I love every single day. I just saw this as a process that is eventually going to help the players in the next round of negotiating, and I was going to be that guy to have the courage to do it, and I know there's going to be backlash for it, and I understand it. But it was really important to me to stand up for, what I believed in and what we as players believe in, and, that's a good thing. And like I said, there's no hard feelings at all.
Okay, so now I'm really loud. Okay, so Joel, what's your opinion on that? Like, give me. I want your opinion on what Kris had to say about his grievance.
So first off, I want to give a thought, because you mentioned pissed off Kris Bryant. I thought it was more thoughtful and opinionated Kris Bryant. I enjoy very much, and I respect the heck out of him for what he did. I love when I say thoughtful. Clearly, he understands where fans are coming from with this. He knows that it probably feels silly to be arguing for millions of dollars to a regular person who's making $40,000 a year and trying to, and you're quibbling over if you're going to get paid a 7-year, $250 million contract contract in 2020 versus 2021. So he understands that. I very clearly get only able to about 40 years old, and then that pay goes away. So people need is something that's very important to players, and I side with the players when they're trying to get as much money as they can. I tend to believe him that there's no ill will. I mean, it comes right from him, and you can tell he's upset with some of the things that come out in the media about him being mad and then him not being mad, or there's no hard feelings or whatever. He bothers him more than any. I don't think that it bothers him as much the fans angry or they want him traded. I mean, it's got hurt because he won a World Series. He was your VP during it. You won the World Series. So, he probably to cut him a little bit of slack, and it might be one of the clips we're playing a little bit later. But it's a tough spot for him to be in because he wants to kind of be like the Curt Flood of grievances. And the Andy Messerschmidt, I think, was one of the other guys that started free agency. And the next time collective bargaining comes around, Kris Bryant's name is going to be thrown around a lot because of he's aware of that. He understands his place in history. He's welcoming it. So I applaud him for wanting to be the poster child of the service time disconnect that there is between the players and the owners, which was collectively bargained, by the way. So the owners and baseball teams are 100% in their right for doing what they are doing with keeping guys in the minor leagues and gaming the system a little bit. It's just that when the next bargaining agreement comes around, I don't think that's going to be the case. And I think Brian, a guy, whatever it ends up being, whether you time and you're still 6 versus 7 or whatever, maybe it's a pay scale thing, but it's going to be the Kris Bryant clause, and he is aware of that. So very thoughtful, incredibly measured and sincere, and I just think it is such a wonderful thing for him to be at the forefront of this, and he's a great he's a great asset for the Chicago Cubs. And I understand them wanting to trade him. I understand them listening to trade offers and talks, because you wouldn't be doing your job as a front office if you aren't listening to trades. But that guy that I just heard, that's the kind of guy that I want on my team as the face of my franchise, or one of the faces of my franchise, along with Javi Baez. So I like what I heard, man. I really did.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. It was exactly what you wanted to hear from your superstar, from your MVP. Mm-hmm. It was exactly that he has no ill will towards the front office, to the organization. If anything, Kris Bryant and the organization both agree that this is a business. They know that. They understand it. That is basically what Chris was saying, that this is a business. He understands that. And just like with the trade rumors, which we're going to get Chris's opinion on that. We'll finish that presser here in a second. That when it comes to all this stuff off the field, it's business, because that's what it is.
Yes.
And they both understand that, and they both understand. And
it's not going to make him working less hard.
Exactly. It's not going to make him play less hard. He's still going to play as well as he can to be MVP and to make the Cubs win. Because Kris Bryant knows that's ultimately all that matters, is if your team wins or not.
Yes.
So let's go over to Chris's. They were asked about the trade rumors. Okay. So let's listen in on that.
Never once have I said I never wanted to play here. I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys can go through all the recordings, all the interviews. I've always said I've respected everybody in this organization, everybody in the city, the fans. We have it so good here. And, of course, I would love to play here.
So there you go, Joel. From the horse's mouth, as they say, right? That's what that comes from. Kris Bryant wants to play here. Now, is that based off of – now, I know you probably have a different opinion on this, but from what I heard and based off of the rest of the presser before that, what he said before about everything, I take him for his word. And I know you're probably going to come at me with something like, well, he's kind of have to say that. That's something you want him to say. He's just saying stuff that he's supposed to say. Right? Is that what you're going to say? Because I look at it differently.
It can be both. He can be saying it because he's supposed to, and he can also mean it. I mean, here's the thing: everybody wants to play wherever they are forever until circumstances change. Chris might be getting information from his from Scott Boras that's telling him, hey, I got this text from Theo, and he wants to maybe talk extension later, but let's see how your health is going or whatever. Just business stuff. And so, I mean, look, why wouldn't you? If you're Chris Bryant, there are murals of you in Chicago. Why wouldn't you want to play there?
Right.
And team isn't winning, or if there are issues problematic for him, gonna want to go not only as he wants to win, but where he has a chance to win. Chris Bryant's a competitive level competitive baseball he's ever played. Say what he was last season, winning 4 games. They've won every year that Chris Bryant has been on the team. They won at least 90 games every season until last year. It was still an above 500 season. So, you know what? If they can afford him, he's gonna stay there, and he's gonna want to play there. And also, if Chicago's his favorite city, but they can't pay him, then he's gonna go somewhere else. Doesn't mean he doesn't want to play for the Cubs. He would love to play for the Cubs, but if they're offering him $100 million and another team is offering him $60, what's best for your family, man? It's a growing family. He's a kid now,
right.
Or his wife is pregnant. I'm trying to remember what the deal is there, but he's got a growing family, and you gotta do what's smart. What's smart right now to make sure that you have a successful year and don't get booed every time you come to home plate is that you want to spend your whole life in Chicago. He can be sincere, also being smart from the standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, you're right. Okay, so there you go. So we don't vary big time on it. We both agree. He played smart, but yeah, I like that. I think he wants. I think an extension gets done. Do you think an extension gets done? That's what this comes down to.
I mean, not before Javi. Javi is going to get his extension.
He'll get his first. Yes,
he's
I
younger.
agree.
He is. Yeah, he'll get his first. I guess you're going to have to maybe see how their money gets divvied out later. I mean, who comes off the books in 2021? I'm trying to think. I don't know who possibly would, but they need to be able to free up some money. Whether that comes from the TV deal with Marquee Network or what, that money hasn't materialized yet, obviously. It's going to be weird and tricky to see how well that does. So, yeah, I think an extension gets done? I would put, if you give me bet on it, I would say by the time the season ends, by the time the Cubs play the game of the season, the Cubs and Chris Bryant will not have an contract extension for him. I hope I'm wrong, but we will see. Wouldn't that be a crazy turn of events? All this talk about trading him, and then suddenly he's guaranteed to play here through 2026 or something. That'd be great. Be a wild turn of events, especially to the Nolan Arenado rumors. Quote unquote.
Yeah, those are crazy, right? Just all of a sudden, Cubs and Rockies have had conversation about swapping Arenado for Bryant. Cubs giving up the prospect because the Rockies would be throwing in money. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I don't think it happens.
No. It's funny. I was about I would say more like 67% on board of that actually happening. I thought like my mindset was there. Like, okay, I'm over 50% that this is going to happen. And then now that more and more things are coming out, the presser, KB's presser, and then of course Arenado's comments today saying that, he wouldn't mind. He wants to stay in Colorado. I mean, obviously he does. He's, signed that extension, but so with that coming out, and then like I said, the KB's presser, I'm back down below 50% that a swap like that will happen.
Well, he wants to be in Colorado because home away splits. He goes from being he's a regular hitter on the road, and at home he's Nolan Arenado.
Right.
So yeah, I would imagine he wants to stay in that environment.
Yeah.
For the fact that he's a ballpark, he hits the daylights out of the ball there, and then you go, and I want to say he's more like Scooter Gennett when he's hitting on the road. So very different.
He's Jason Hayward. We said this. I think we said this last year. He's Jason Hayward.
That's right. We did say that.
Yeah. He's a great player defensively. He's okay offensively when he's away from Coors Field. He's Jason Hayward. I love that comparison.
Yeah. So, I mean, do the Cubs want that? I think there'd be a rude awakening if they went with Nolan Arenado, for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you on that. It would have been fun because I do love crazy trades and stuff like that, but I'm glad that trade's not going to happen. I really am.
Last thing on that, Nolan Arenado, I mean, do we know him as a guy? Like, Chris Bryant's a squeaky clean boy human being, doesn't drink, barely ever drinks coffee. He doesn't curse in the front of the media. He's a Boy Scout and married his high school sweetheart. Seems like just the best guy in the world, great representative of the Cubs. A vocal guy also who wants to be out there at the forefront of a lot of things that might be controversial now, but are going to be groundbreaking later. And I mean, he's so handsome, so young, has such a great smile. I think he personally sells more tickets than Nolan Arenado. And he's a homegrown guy who you brought up through your system. Everything you'd possibly want as a Cub and a Cub fan. I don't think you get the same thing out of Nolan Arenado, and for that reason, I would rather have Chris Bryant.
Oh, yeah. No, I would rather have Chris Bryant also. The great thing about Chris Bryant, that another on-field-wise difference between Chris Bryant and Nolan Arenado is simple. Nolan Arenado plays third base, and he only plays third base. Chris Bryant is a above-average fielder at, 4 different positions other than third base?
He's at worst serviceable at 4, maybe 5 different positions because I don't see him play center field a lot.
Okay. All right.
But you could put him at first base, and I mean, he's a first baseman.
Yep. First baseman, left field,
when Rizzo
right
gets hurt,
field.
you can put him at first.
Yes, I completely agree. And that's the difference between Nolan Arenado and Chris Bryant. That's why Chris Bryant is better. And if you look at his home and away splits, Chris Bryant is the exact same player no matter what stadium he plays in. He is a 280-something average. He has about the same number of home runs and RBIs. On-base percentage is about the same. He is the exact same player no matter what stadium.
The only reason he doesn't have as many ribbies as Arenado does is because he doesn't have as many opportunities to drive guys in. Chris Bryant usually hits second in the lineup with the Cubs, who hasn't had a leadoff hitter in the last 3 years who's been reliable.
Yep.
Except for Anthony Rizzo. And Arenado hits lower down in the lineup in Coors Field. So it's not fair comparing their productivity from an RBI standpoint. I'd like some of the rumors where maybe they could get Arenado and keep Chris. I was trying to think what you'd have to trade away. Put Brian in this fan getting goes into. So look at trading Papanamora. Might trade Caratini. Might trade the right to call Chicago the second city. Now that's Denver, and Chicago is the third city. You would trade the rights to. You'd have to call it the Third City Comedy Theater by that, so no one else would come from second. You would have to, you'd have to change the name of the Willis Tower to the John Elway Tower. Like all these, what would you have to do to get both Bryant and Arenado on the Cubs? It might have to be something like that. So
They would have to be crazy. I would agree with you. It would have to be
It's
absolutely
not gonna
ridiculous. It's not going to happen. Everybody just stop thinking that's going to happen because it's not. This is the Ivy Boys podcast presented by Rebecca Lewis of Coldwell Banker Gundecker, 314-369-9680, RebeccaSellsDreams.com. Let's move on, Joel. Enough with this KB trade stuff. I'm over it. KB is going to be a Cub. Really quick, I want to make a comment on something. Yu Darvish kind of got attacked a little bit today by his comments about the Houston Astros. Yu Darvish, if people don't remember, in 2017 was easily the one person that was affected by the Houston Astros in their cheating scandal with the trash cans and stuff like that, because he gave up big time home runs and big time hits in the World Series for the Dodgers against the Astros, like I said, in 2017. You, Darvish, on the Astros. Olympics, when players cheat, they can't have a gold medal, right? But the Astros still have a World Series title. That makes me feel weird. He makes a valid point, Joel. Any other sport outside of, I say, U.S., when something like this happens, teams are stripped of their titles. I mean, actually, even in the NCAA, they're stripped of their seasons. Those seasons don't exist anymore when it comes out that teams cheated, that they used players that were ineligible or something along that line. So why is baseball and Major League Baseball held at a different standard? Another example, really quick, over in the England in the Champions League, Manchester City was caught cheating in some sort of way, and they were banned from the playoffs for the season. So why are the Astros not there? Why does that not happening with the Astros?
Baseball at once. I mean, so while I agree that the Astros, it should be considered that they get to their title, I'll say that. I also agree, by the way, Chris Bryant, that this is on steroids. This is worse. It honestly is.
Yes.
When you take a bunch of steroids, you still got to hit the ball. And look at guys who are steroid users. Look at their batting average against Pedro Martinez. Didn't help them all that much. Again, when they were facing that, Randy Johnson or someone who really knew what they were doing from 1996 to 2004. So this is different because you know what's coming. And it's so weird, the whole stripping. Like the USC teams that won the national championships, I never really cared that their championships got Bobby Bowden got taken away from him. That was so corny. The guys still had the parade. They still had the champagne shower in the locker room afterwards. They still have all those memories. So taking away I'll agree with Manfred that it is superfluous to take away to strip a team of their championship because you still have the memories. However, it does send a powerful message, and it also takes that trophy and gives it to the Dodgers, and that is something that matters. Not being because what's the biggest attraction when you go to Wrigley Field now? It's the championship trophy.
Absolutely.
There's no question about it. There's nothing that comes close to the championship trophy. The Astros, they've only won one, correct? If I am right in saying they've only won one. So their trophy case, they have to get rid of the trophy at that point. That would sting. Really hurt. The ability to draw people in, that little attraction of the World Series championship. So, yep, I think it should be done, or at least I think I can make the argument that it should be done. It doesn't mean anything. The players aren't going to not be able to. They're 75 and sitting on their front porch in their home, thinking about all the magic of the 2017 season. That's not going to get away from them. But at the same time, there's so much more that can hurt the actual franchise by taking that trophy away that I think that would make it worth it.
Yeah. Also,
and it would send a message to other franchises.
Well, and also think about it. There's 1994. There's no World Series winner on the books, on the record books. There is no World Series winner in 1994 because of the strike.
That's right. Ooh, real quick. Trivia. What was the only other year World Series since the World Series began?
You were breaking up on that question. Say it again.
Rats. Okay. So 1994, there was no World Series, so there was no champion. What is the only other year, 1903, that there was no World Series champion?
I'm gonna assume that it has something to do with World War II. So I'm gonna say 1943.
Nope. I believe the Cardinals won it in 43. I'll have to look that up. But you can look it up probably. I don't want to take up bandwidth doing it, but I'm going to guess it was the Cardinals in 43. It was 1904. The New York Giants refused to play the AL pennant winner because John McGraw, the manager, felt it was beneath them to play a league that had just started in 1901. So he boycotted the World Series. It never happened. They had to wait till 1905 for the next World Series to occur.
Okay.
Fun fact.
There you go. There you go. You learned something on the Ivy Boys podcast. There you go. 1904. The Yankees beat the Cardinals in 1943, 4-1.
Rats. So I had the Cardinals in it.
You were
just
right
now
about the Cardinals.
I was wrong that they won it.
Yes. By the way, Manfred, is he on the same level as Gary Bettman now in the NHL as most hated?
I don't know about that.
He's not there yet.
No,
He's getting there.
I don't. Well,
He's getting there.
he's super out of touch. I'm trying to think of other owners who have been more out of touch aside from Bettman. I mean, I don't think Selig was ever out of touch, but I think
No.
he was obviously not a great commissioner. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, Selig seemed like a fan of baseball. At least you could
Yep.
you could hang that on him. At least he loved the game. And mistakes he made with masking steroids, he masked the whole steroid thing probably because he loved baseball and didn't want to get a giant black eye. This doesn't seem like that, and it doesn't even seem like Manfred likes the game. Sometimes he's the only owner I've ever seen who I doubt watches the sport on his days off.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say. Selig, I can imagine him after he resigned as manager, retired as commissioner. I can imagine him like buying a ticket and going to a game. David
Yes.
Stern, I can imagine him buying a ticket,
Well,
rest in peace,
yes.
and going to a game. Paul Tagliabue, all those
Yeah.
guys. Even Goodell, I think, likes football.
Yes.
But Manfred, I mean, I don't know what his deal is, man. Maybe that's why he is there in the first place, is that he wouldn't be so beholden to the integrity of the game, and he'd be willing to make changes. Well, him trivializing a World Series championship the way he did, and saying it wouldn't be all that important to just take metal away from them. His words, take metal away.
You know how much that
Yeah.
metal means to us Cub fans? To people
It's the
like
most
us?
important thing in the world, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You can buy a replica ring for $10,000, and people have. That's how much it means.
Yes. Yes. Don't tell me a piece of metal doesn't matter, Manfred, because it does. It
Yeah.
matters to us.
Do I buy
It was something that we
a
were
2018 Prius or a replica of something? Yeah.
we
Go
were
ahead.
waiting our whole lives for this piece of metal. For our team, our captain Anthony Rizzo, the hoist. We were waiting our whole lives for this. And now you're going to sit there and tell me, because you know you screwed up with the punishment for the Astros. You know you did. You know the investigation could have gone longer. You know the investigation could have gone deeper. You didn't give it time to do it. You know you messed up, so you're trying to play it down as not that big of a deal of getting rid of this piece of metal. But no, you're wrong, Manfred. You are wrong. It does matter. It matters to the people that make your sport go. And that is the fans.
It can only get worse. Think about that. It honestly only get worse from here, because if more stuff comes up, if there's more evidence of cheating, that this is more widespread, MLB looks like a bunch of dolts that they didn't investigate this further or come forward. They haven't really come forward with all that much at all. It's been stuff that was leaked or reported by outside sources. Great job, journalists, by the way,
Yes.
in getting this information. And then MLB is having to react. Be proactive about this.
Yep.
When was the last time we saw Major League Baseball be really proactive about something? Steroids? No. They
Nope.
knew what was going on. They did nothing. I mean, the last time there was someone who was forward thinking, honestly, like Branch Rickey in 1940,
47.
when he broke the color barrier. Since then, it's been very little
Yeah.
baseball and innovative or being out in front of a store really bad for you. I mean, look at basketball. They're looking into schedules and how to really maximize the effectiveness of their players. They saw an issue a few years ago with guys taking time off for rest. And so what do? They eliminate playing 4 games in 5 days. They the cross country road trips to a degree. They give you a full week off after the All-Star game so you can rest your body and make it a true break. And we don't see anything like that from baseball. And baseball probably doesn't mean as much, but it sure does matter when you're, playing your 17th or, gosh, for the Cubs, 35th game in a row like a few years ago. And you face 3-2 94-mile-an-hour slider in the ninth to keep your season going. It does matter quite a bit. So this is worse than that. This is a big sleep. This is cheating the game, and you're not even getting in front of that. So I just see it bad for baseball for a long time.
Yeah.
More is going to come out on it. We haven't seen the last of it.
No, I agree with you. We have not seen the last of it.
By the way, the tattoo thing was dumb. Can we just agree the tattoo thing was one of the dumbest excuses we've ever heard about?
I don't know.
Anything?
But is it dumber than my wife doesn't want my jersey to be stripped off? Because that's what Jose Altuve first said.
It's dumber because you can empirically tell if someone was getting a tattoo, and it was proven that it wasn't in a photograph. No tattoo at all anywhere. Your wife can lie and say, yeah, I didn't want him to get his shirt off, because if I say that's not true, he loses $50 million off his next contract. I think that it's worse because you can corroborate with your wife, but you can't corroborate with a photograph of you not having a tattoo. That's a little bit less assailable evidence-wise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're both. I mean, if that doesn't tell you that they're just making stuff up off the top of their head, I don't know what does. I don't know what will make you realize that. And then
I love that they're boycotting Buffalo Wild Wings, like down in Texas. I think that's so stupid.
It's so stupid.
Boycott. Go there like 18 times this year.
John Boy actually put out. He had pictures given to him in the 8th inning before the the 9th inning before the Astros walked it off, or whenever it was. Altuve was wearing an undershirt. I mean, you can clearly see it. And then when he came to a bat, he was not wearing that undershirt. So you're telling me throughout the whole game he's wearing an undershirt and everything's fine. But now this most important part of the game, a part where he can take the team to the World Series, now he's not wearing an undershirt because it gets in the way? No. It's because he went back to the clubhouse, put the buzzer on. He put the buzzer on and they forgot to put his undershirt back on. Or maybe the buzzer doesn't work well with the undershirt. I don't know what it was. But something happened, and we all know Jose Altuve had a buzzer under his jersey.
It's silly.
It's silly.
Just silly.
It's ridiculous.
All right, well, enough about that. This is a now, obviously this is pertinent to the Cubs because so many members of the team have commented on this, and 2 of the most outspoken guys have, and one of them was directly affected by this probably back in 2017 in Yu Darvish, who, by the way, has handled this just beautifully and brilliantly in the way that he's been talking about it. You alluded to it earlier. Just the way that he handles himself. I want him to have such a big year. I hope that the second half of his season was legit, and he is a Cy Young contender this year, because he would be for an entire season.
Yep. Really quick shout out to a couple listeners.
Does he start opening day for you?
Yes, he's our number 1 star.
Okay, so him then Hendricks then Lester.
Yep. Really quick, I want to give a shout out to a couple listeners. Jordan 24 My wife Christy, they're all commenting. My buddy Jeff Ponder, he has a podcast. If you, for whatever reason, are a St. Louis Blue fan, here's a shout out for him. Let's Go Blues Radio. Check out their podcast. It's really good if you are a Blues fan or a hockey fan and interested in podcast about hockey. Let's Go BluesRadio.com. Let's move on. This is the Ivy Boys podcast presented by Rebecca Lewis of Coldwell Banker Gundecker, 314-369-9680, RebeccaSellsDreams.com. I want to get your comments really quick on what Javi Baez had to say about the lackadaisicalness, is that even a word? I don't know, of the clubhouse and of the team after they won the World Series under Joe Madden. He said a lot of players were doing the same as me, getting loose during the game. You can lose the game in the first inning sometimes when you're not ready and the other team scored on something simple. I feel like it was because of that. We weren't ready. What do you make of that? Is what happened with the Cubs the last two seasons strictly on Joe Madden for being so loose, letting the players pretty much run the team? Or is it the players who, I mean, we are talking about adults here. These guys, this is not Legion ball. These are actual adults, 20s and 30s. Should they have not stepped up? Should somebody have not been more vocal in the clubhouse if more players didn't like this?
Is Joe Madden's fault they won 95 games and had won a game 163? I mean, is it his fault that they lost 1-0 in 13 innings in a wild card game? Is it Joe's fault that despite what Javi Baez said, the Cubs had a plus 21 run differential in the first inning, a plus 22 run differential in the second inning, and those are the two best innings the Cubs had last year, run differential, except for the fifth inning? I don't know if it's Javi Baez using vision history to color interpretation of because whatever it was that he was going through, what the rest of the team was going through. I in the first game to see if he was performing as well, if he was more prone to making errors. I can't tell you that Nick Castellanos sure looked good in the first inning, and he had the same Baez did. I can tell you that the team lost a whole lot of games due to both the last innings. You can do that if you have a lead going into it. So I all that much about Baez's version of how things work. Now, I'm not in the house. I don't know. I can only do what the numbers tell me. The numbers tell me that it was a pretty good team in the first inning.
Yes.
They were a pretty good team in the second inning. And that's when he was saying that the team had a real issue with getting up for the game, being ready till the fourth or fifth. Maybe you were Javi, but didn't have that problem. Anthony Rizzo leading off game didn't have that problem. Kyle had a problem in the first inning, and he has his entire career, it seems. But aside from that, the pitching staff, I don't think it did all that worse in the first. So I'm going to respectfully disagree. I mean, Javi is he's one of my guys. I love him, but I don't think he's right here. Whether he believes it to be true or not, the numbers bear out that the Cubs were a very good early game team, at least last season, and it was not the issue. The issue was the bullpen and some of timely hitting later in games was their demise last season.
Yeah, I didn't.
That's my thought.
I didn't know how I felt about that. I always heard that Joe Madden's clubhouse was a little lackadaisical, especially after the World Series. But I also felt like that was just an excuse. I just felt like that was just an excuse. We are talking about grown men here, adults who have who should be held accountable for certain things. And being loose and ready for a game should be one of those things they should be held accountable for. Joe Madden could only do so much. Yes, he had his Legion week and stuff like that where, don't show up so early. But if you wanted to, you could. That's the other thing. So why are these competitive people not doing that? You're supposed to be competitive. You are at the highest level of the game. So you are supposed to be held accountable to a certain amount, to a certain point, and I feel like it's on them. I just feel like it's on them. You know, if you didn't like the way Joe Madden was doing something, and if you didn't like the way that he told you not to show up so early and things like that, let you run the clubhouse, well, then run it to the point where you are loose before the game. There's no reason. It's not Joe Madden on why you are loose or not. It wasn't him. That's on you. That is on you. If you don't feel loose at the start of the game, then the next game, show up a half hour earlier. Simple as that. This is on them. This is not a Joe Madden. This was not a Joe Madden issue. Joe Madden's just a scapegoat right now when it comes to this stuff. That's the way I feel.
I think we agree on that.
Yeah, he's a scapegoat. It's easy to blame Joe Madden because he's gone.
Yep.
If Joe Madden wasn't gone,
That's right. By the way, those numbers I gave.
Yeah. Say that one more time.
Sorry, I was gonna let you go, but I'll say my numbers I here. I like to give credit where credit's due. Those were put up by Cody Wonderland on Twitter. He's or and stats guy and their web guys. He brought up that the Cubs were plus 21 in the first, plus 1 in the second. Those were the two best innings aside from the fifth. So not necessarily accurate what Hobby said. Numerically, it made it felt like that in the clubhouse.
Yep. There you go. Numbers don't lie. It's like the ball don't lie.
No.
Isn't that what they say in the NFL when like there's a bad call or something? The ball don't lie. The numbers don't lie.
I always thought it was a basketball thing.
I don't know what I think it's just a sports thing in general, right? If there's a bad call, someone can hit a home run and get those back. In basketball, you can make a basket. Football, you can score a touchdown, or there's a fumble or something like that. The ball don't lie. There you go. If there's going to be a title for this episode, there it is. The ball don't lie episode.
Oh, it doesn't lie.
The ball don't lie. Anyways, this is the Ivy Boys podcast presented by Rebecca Lewis of Coldwell Banker Gundecker, 314-369-9680, RebeccaSellsDreams.com. If you are looking for an MVP realtor of the St. Louis area, Rebecca Lewis of Coldwell Banker Gundecker is your realtor. She is a no-nonsense realtor, Joel. No nonsense. No giraffes or anything like that. She is a no-nonsense realtor. Everybody who works with Rebecca Lewis just praises her on her work ethic and how she gets top dollar for their houses, because she's going to tell you like it is. She's going to tell you exactly what you need to do to get your house ready to be put on the market. When it comes to contractors and painters and things like that, Rebecca refers the best. So you know your house is going to be the best on the market, so it could be sold fast. So if you are looking for a house in the St. Louis area, or if you're looking for a referral because you're moving from St. Louis or anything, contact Rebecca Lewis of Coldwell Banker Gundecker. That phone number again is 314-369-9680 or RebeccaSellsDreams.com. All right, Joel, let's wrap this up. Give me your final thought.
Final thought is I could not be more proud of Chris Bryant. I couldn't be more, because he was a guy who came into the league and it just felt like he was very shucks and just happy to be here. I know I'm going to do great because I've done great everywhere, but I'm going to stay quiet, stay in the background. Getting to know his personality, getting to know the kind of person he is, just makes me feel so good to have him on the Cubs team. And whatever kind of year he has, and I trust he's going to have a great year. I've seen some videos coming out of him in the cage. He's standing a little bit taller to help deal with high fastballs, because that's how guys have been getting him out lately. Honestly, by the way, his hole is a fastball at the knees. He seems to strike out looking strike three on that, and I believe the book is out on that more often than anyone I've ever seen. Strike three, fastball at the knees. It must look low to him, but it's clearly not. But he's got to get to that. I think he's going to have a great year. I think Chris is going to have one of those years that he typically does, 295, maybe even better, 35 home runs. Not sure where Rossi's going to put him in the lineup. Maybe hit him third with Rizzo fourth. I don't know. I'm not sure. You've got a gluttony of you've got a glut of great hitters who deserve to be there. Depending on how Schwarber's spring goes, where you put him in the lineup, trying to figure out who's going to be your leadoff man. Maybe Nico will, but just the awesome way that Chris Bryant has matured and shown out here in the offseason and really over the last year and a half has been awesome. And I've loved watching it as a Cubs fan. That's my final thought.
That's good. That's good. My final thought is a couple things. First, I'm really excited about this team. Just like Joel said, I'm excited for Chris Bryant. I think he's going to have a monster year. I think Yu Darvish is going to have a monster year. I think Schwarber is going to be Schwarber of the second half. I'm really, really excited, and I know Joel is too, about Ian Happ. We're very, very excited about them. We think he's going to have a breakout season this year. Anthony Rizzo is going to be Anthony Rizzo. Baez is healthy. Baez is an MVP caliber player. Wilson Contreras, still on the Cubs, despite me and Joel saying that we think he's the one guy that could get traded this year. And I stand by that. I mean, they're definitely, the rumors were there. So I have no problem saying that we were right. I mean, if they were going to trade somebody, it could have been Wilson Contreras. But he's offensively, he's there. Defensively, if he's working on his pitch framing, that's amazing. That's awesome. He could only get better. He can't get any worse. Just remember that. This team has the potential to be really, really good. This team has potential to win the division and go deep into the playoffs. If everybody can play to their potential. That's going to be what it comes down to with the Chicago Cubs this year. If everybody can play their potential, and that includes the bullpen, the Cubs win the division and they can go deep into the playoffs. If a bunch of people have bad seasons, especially that bullpen, the Cubs are a fourth place team, and we have to be prepared for that. So the expectations, if your expectations are a little bit low, that's okay, because then they can overexceed them. That's the way I'm trying to think might be happening with me going into this season. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. So anyways, folks, that is it for us. I lost my train of thought. I think we lost Joel, which is fine. Not 100% sure. We may have lost him. That's okay. Anyways, folks, follow us on Twitter at the Ivy Boys. Follow me on Twitter at ChipperStrike3, just the number 3. Follow Joel on Twitter at Fry Sports Radio. That beeping noise is Skype trying to figure something out. You can follow us on Facebook. Of course, the Ivy Boys. You can head over to the website, theivyboys.com. Check out all our blogs right there. Joel and I are both writing. Joel just wrote one about Tyler Chatwood and how he thinks he could have a monster year this year. I'm going to have one coming out this week. Yeah, scroll all the way down to see Bob Rufo's name on the website. Click it, Bob Rufo. BobDoesWork.com, BobDoesWork.com, BobDoesWork.com. If you like the way our logo looks and like anything like that, contact Bob Rufo of BobDoesWork.com. He will do anything for you. You can do anything, not just websites, but logos for volleyball teams, softball teams. We're getting into softball and volleyball season. If you want something designed for your team, BobDoesWork.com. Bob Rufo does amazing, amazing work. So definitely check him out. That's it. I think we're done. Folks, we appreciate the support. We will be live again next Sunday. We're planning on it. We'll let you know on the time. Make sure you're following us on Twitter and Facebook. We will be live. We will hopefully have these technical difficulties in the past put behind us. So hopefully that happens. But please come back again next week. Like and subscribe to this YouTube page. We appreciate the support, folks. And we will see you next episode.